Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. My name is Niku, and welcome to the Trading Setup channel. Um, Good to have everybody here. As always, guys, if you have any questions while we're going along, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so if there's anything you guys need to know, just it's always good to hear from everybody. So today we're going to be looking at a strategy that utilizes the Vortex indicator. I'm going to talk a bit about that in a minute, and then we're also going to be looking, as always, we're going to go to the charts. We're going to look for some look at some practical examples of how to implement this. But before we get to that, as always, those of you guys that's with PO Broker, I do have a code for you today, and it's for an 80% deposit bonus from as little as $10. And your code today will be Vortex 80. Okay, so if you are with PO Broker and you're making a deposit, make use of that Vortex 80 for an 80% deposit bonus. Okay, so before I start with Vortex, how do we kick this off? Bitcoin hit 100,000. That was, for me, a little bit unexpected. Personally, I had my 100,000 target for early next year, but we hit it in December, and it's absolutely awesome. A lot of people smiling, and we're also going to touch on how we can use the Vortex indicator. In fact, any strategies that we have discussed here in the past and that we're going to do today, you can be used to trade Bitcoin as well. So without any further ado, let's kick into the Vortex indicator or the Vortex strategy. So the Vortex strategy, before we actually have a look at what it looks like and have a look at practical examples of entries, let's just quickly have a chat about the Vortex indicator so we understand what it is that it's showing us. With this strategy today, it's a two-part strategy. First off, we're going to be using the Vortex indicator. It's important to remember that the Vortex indicator is a trend indicator. The calculations, the way it's calculated, is, I think, the most complex of all the indicators we've covered so far. It's a really complex mathematical calculation. It involves 4 steps, also involves true range, stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, a quick Google will sort you out. And if you're like into the math, you can go have a look at all the calculations that's used to actually calculate the vortex and display it. But the important takeaway from this is that the vortex indicator is a trend indicator. It shows us trend direction and it shows us trend strength. So that's the number one important thing. It's also important to remember that if we use any trend indicator, you want to go with it. Okay, so for when we use a trend indicator, anything that indicates trend for us, like the vortex we're going to discuss today, we don't want to go against it. You will see that all the entries we're going to be discussing and the ways we're going to find entries, it will each and every time be a continuation entry. All right, so we don't want to use reverse or trend indicators to find reversals. We want to find, we're using them to find areas where the trend is strengthening, and we're going to go along with it. So that's point number one. That's on the vortex indicator. Second thing we need to remember is we're going to be combining trend with momentum. Okay, so we're going to be looking at one or two momentum indicators as well. And the important thing with momentum to remember is that the higher the momentum of something is, the longer it's going to take to slow down. This is true in the real world. If you're driving a car, we know that the faster you are going, the more momentum you have, and then the longer it's going to take you to bring that car to a stop again. So we're going to take advantage of this. This is true for price action as well. The more momentum price is gaining, the longer it's going to take to slow down. And we're going to try and take advantage of that. So we're going to be looking for trend, and we're going to be looking for momentum. So without any further ado, let's head on over to the charts, and I'll explain to you guys what it is we're going to be looking at and how we can find some entries. Okay, so we have Euro USD 1 minute open at the moment. I'm going to be switching to Bitcoin in a second. There we go. Let's have a look at Bitcoin quick. I'm going to switch to a daily chart. So this is awesome. Bitcoin is currently trading at $102,000. It's almost 300. I suspect we're going to see more upside over the next few weeks. But it's impossible to say, if it will continue straight or if it's going to take a resting period. But we do have this kind of like flag here. It did get broken. So yeah, Bitcoin holders are really smiling at the moment. On my screen here, you guys will also see we've got the Vortex indicator loaded, and we have the momentum indicator loaded. We're going to use the momentum indicator at first, but I'm going to be looking at the RSI and the stochastic as well, because both of those are also momentum indicators. And if we follow this is the daily chart. If we follow the strategy here, we're going to be looking for areas where the Vortex cross. So this is the red line represents the VI minus, and the green line is VI plus. So when we're moving in a bullish trend, the green line will be dominant. When we're moving in a bearish trend, the red line will be dominant. So we're going to be looking at areas where we cross. We can also see that quite usually when there's a cross, it tends to continue for quite a while. But we do get areas like this as well, where we get fake crosses. And this becomes more the lower your time frame goes. So we're going to get areas like this as well. But this is where momentum comes in. We're going to be looking at how to filter out those fake crosses. But if you took a buy on this cross here with the Vortex indicator, you would have had a very, very nice trade. This would have been on Bitcoin when Bitcoin was around 66,000. This would have been a nice trade in a fairly short period of time as well. This was from 15th of October, so it's less than 2 months, and Bitcoin almost doubled. We're not quite there yet, but I think we're definitely heading there. But we'll have a look at that. We'll have to wait and see, where Bitcoin ends up going. But the Vortex indicator warned us that there's a big that the trend went green. It showed us this little pullback here. We were moving in a bullish trend for that's what, 3 weeks. Pulled back down. When we did the pullback, we did get the crossover again. I had the opportunity to make some money, but if you hooked this crossover, it would have been awesome. Let's go to Euro USD. Let's look at practical examples of how we can filter bad trades and how we can hook good trades using Vortex and momentum. As I said earlier, if you go, the lower your time frame goes, you will get more of these fake breaks or these crosses here. These are basically impossible to trade, right? So when the Vortex starts switching like this, you are in a ranging market. But we need to find areas like this where the Vortex or where we can hook, where we can find the beginning of a trend and then go along for the ride of this trend. So how do we do this? If we take the last example where the Vortex went bullish, after the cross, we could see a massive increase in momentum. So this is a very simple strategy, really, but it is also will require a little bit of patience. We need to look for cross areas, but we need to look for cross areas where Vortex crosses that has a lot of momentum. Okay, so that's the I want to say secret, but that's the key to this whole strategy. If we look at crosses, if we look at the area here where it was so, what do you call it, where it was zigzagging, you will see that there was no real momentum at any point. Okay, so we didn't have any real momentum while it was doing this, but as soon as we broke, as soon as the actual trend started going, the vortex picked it up very early, and we had the momentum coming in. We had bullish momentum coming in, and this will apply to basically all the areas where we cross. If we look at this little area here where the vortex almost crossed, it almost went bullish there, but we didn't have any momentum. The momentum values were really, really low. If we were supposed to, let's say, add an RSI here, this RSI would, at this point, would have been, actually, let's add it in. It would have been below the 50 value. There we go. So the RSI has been bearish from this area here. You know what, let's do this for just quick. We make that low. We make you a little bit thicker, and we make you a little bit, and we go that. Okay, this is easier to see. We can see that during this period, I just also need to take off auto scroll. During this period, the RSI remained bearish. It never broke through, it never went bullish. So if the RSI is running above 50, it's showing us bullish momentum. If it's running below the 50 line, it's showing us bearish momentum. So we had the RSI still bearish from when this trend started off. We can also see when it crossed over here at this area here, we had the crossover, and at that point my RSI actually did go negative, and we started seeing a lot of we started seeing an increase in bearish momentum. So here would have been a sell opportunity for us. Would we have taken it when it crossed back like this? For just a second there, the vortex just inched over the VI plus, just inched over the VI minus, but we had very strong bearish momentum when this happened. So this will not be a buy for us. We need to look at the momentum of the current trend or of the current move to determine whether the vortex is giving us a false entry or an actual valid entry. And as we can see here, the vortex remained. Same thing happened here though. We didn't really see a change in momentum. These candles are very, very small, or these momentum bars are very, very small. My RSI was still below 50 the whole time. It never crossed over. So when this happens, we would not be taking buys. Instead, we will just stay. If you're in a Forex trade, for example, you'll stay. Or if you are in, if you're trading options, this would have been a good area where we saw the rejection of the RSI, where the RSI rejected off the 50 value and started going or increasingly bearish. Again, we could have taken sells there, short-term sells, 5 minutes or something like that. Here's actually a good example. While we were talking, this was forming, and we can see this in action. We had the vortex crossing over, the VI minus crossing over on this candle here. And actually crossed on this one, but when it crossed this candle, it basically crossed on this candle here. We didn't have a strong bearish momentum yet, and the RSI hasn't yet crossed downwards. But afterwards, we saw the RSI go bearish, and we saw an increase in the momentum here. So a 5-minute sell on the close of this red candle would have actually been a pretty decent trade. Again, if you guys have any questions while we're talking and while I'm explaining something or discussing, please feel free to ask. Would be nice. Even if you don't want to ask a question, just say hi. Say hi, and yeah. So let's see if we can find a few practical examples of how we can, we actually unfortunately missed this trade here. But we should be able to find a few examples. It's a really simple strategy. Like I said, you just going to need a little bit of patience, and we're going to need you're going to need to combine momentum and trend. So the most important thing I think you need to remember about this is, what is the momentum of the current move that we are in. Okay, we definitely, last thing we're going to do is just play crosses as they happen. We're definitely not going to do that. Let's see if we can maybe find any new entries. Here's another nice example. RSI was bearish, and as soon as it crossed on that candle there, we had an increase in the momentum. We had an increase in the RSI went bearish. Bullish. And if we took a 5-minute trade anywhere on this candle, would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had a good trade. Lawrence, hi. Always good to see you, man. Hope everything's going well. Before we switch back, we can also, here's another good example of a sell trade. We had the Vortex bearish, the Vortex was bullish, and then when it switched to bearish, my RSI came down, and I saw an increase in momentum. And again, you could have taken it, sell trade anywhere there. You would have had a good trade. This is a great example of trades we're going to leave though. When the Vortex crossed bullish here, my RSI failed to break through the 50 line. So my RSI showed me that the bearish momentum was conserved. We didn't go bullish. So I would not have, this is not a trade we would take. And this is where we need to be, I want to say, alert, and where the patience comes in. On this cross though, we had a good trade as well. Again, RSI was bullish, and just as my Vortex crossed over, my RSI went bearish, and I did start to see an increase in the bearish momentum. And I could have taken a sell on this candle here. If it was a 5-minute sell, it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would have been a close trade, depending on where you took it. Where was the cross? Now the cross was on this candle. And that's as simple as that. I really don't know. I had this idea about how can I put it? It sounds a lot more complicated than it is. It is a very, very simple strategy that you can use. But like I said, it does require a little bit of patience, and it will require you to stick with momentum. You need to keep an eye on the momentum of whatever it is you're trading. We can even have a look at Bitcoin. There seems to be a little bit of an issue with Bitcoin at the moment, in the sense that this chart keeps disappearing. But I am having some internet issues as well. Here's another example of a trade we can take. Actually, when the Vortex went bearish here, my RSI conserved the bullish momentum, and when it crossed back over, I had a buy opportunity. So we might actually get an entry here. Let's see what happens. What we want now is my Vortex to cross, and if the Vortex does go bearish here, and my RSI breaks through, we're already seeing bearish momentum starting to form here. We can consider a sell trade, but I do need to wait for the Vortex to cross to cross bearish. Until it does, I can't take a trade. Close is never good enough. We have to wait for this strategy to actually fire. And oh, by the way, this will work on any time frame. On any time frame. The only difference is if the higher your time frame goes, the longer your expiry will be, and the longer you're going to wait for entries. But that's the only caveat. You can use this on any time frame. We can see this beautiful buy here, where the Vortex crossed over. At the same time, my RSI went bullish, and that was on there. We saw an increase in momentum. RSI went bullish, and we had a trade could have had a buy opportunity there, but this would have been for like half an hour or an hour maybe, because this is a 5-minute chart. I usually use this on 1 minute. I actually use this on 10-second charts as well. If I use it on 10 seconds, I'll do 1-minute trades, and if I use it on 1-minute chart, I'll do 5-minute expiries. But we need to wait for the crosses, and we need to see what the momentum of the price movement is. We're not going to take buy trades if if I have bearish momentum. I'm not going to take buy trades on a crossover, and vice versa. I'm not going to take sell trades if I've got bullish momentum. Here we go. Let's have a look. We might see a crossover here. It looks like it's going to be crossing. Let's give this a minute or two, and we'll see if we can, if this develops into a valid entry. If it does, we'll see how it goes. If it does not, well, we'll switch back to euro and see what happens. I am very curious to know. We already broke 103. I'm very curious to see what Bitcoin is going to be doing in the next couple of days or next few weeks. It was, like I said, I had the 100K mark early next year. That was when I thought it was gonna break 100K. It really took me by surprise that we had this huge move the last few days. Now, this was kind of expected. This was during the election time. But this last push here, I really didn't think we're gonna break 100K this year still. Let's go back to 1 minute, see if that thing has fired. Okay, it doesn't look like there's going to be an entry there. Okay. Like I said earlier, this is a slow strategy. Okay, so you're not going to be taking trades left and right using this. There's a lot of fake crosses that you're going to have to filter out. But if you're patient and you wait for good signals, you'll be golden. Again, yeah, we had this Vortex was bullish. When it went bearish, my RSI broke through, and if I took a 1 minute trade here after the cross, I would have had a good trade. This is something we wouldn't have taken. Vortex crossed over for a second there, but my RSI showed bearish momentum. We didn't have a big increase in momentum here. So that's a buy we would have avoided, but instead when it went bearish again, we could have taken a sell like this. You know what, I'm going to take a 1 minute sell here. So we had the little peak over where again the Vortex crossed just a little bit, went bullish for a second. My RSI remained below the 50 value, so my RSI showed me that the bearish momentum was conserved. We also had just these small little green momentum bars, and we immediately went back to bearish momentum and increased bearish momentum, and yeah, there we go. All right, so the cross upwards, the bullish cross there, is not something we would have traded because we did not gain any bullish momentum. My RSI remained slow, and you can use your favorite momentum indicator for this. You don't have to use the RSI. You can stay with the stochastic. You can stay with, if you're using the MACD, you can use that. Any momentum indicator works with this. So back to just to recap quickly, the Vortex is showing us the trend. So it's showing us the direction where price is going to be going, or probably be going. It does give, you can't just simply play the crosses because you will get a lot of false crosses. But if we use the crosses in conjunction with momentum, if we have bearish momentum, we're not going to take buys. If we have bullish momentum, we're not going to take sells. Not if you're using a trend strategy. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm explaining this clearly enough. We need to wait for areas where the vortex changes direction. So those are the crosses. But we're going to go, if we're only going to take the trade if the cross is, if it's a bullish cross, we need the bullish momentum to be there. If there isn't bullish momentum when it crosses bullish, we're not going to take the trade. Yeah, that's the most, I think that's the most important thing we need to remember, is to make sure that the momentum is there in the direction we want to go. If Euro, for example, is trending downwards, this is a decent downward trend on the 10-second chart. So it's not a exceptionally big move, but this is a classic downward trend at the moment. We're seeing price make lower highs, and we see price making lower lows. So this is a perfect bearish trend by definition. We're not going to look for areas to, we're not going to try to go against it. You have a much better chance of going with a move like this, especially if we have these strong bearish momentum. If the momentum is increasing like this, you have a much better chance to just go along with it than you would if you were to try to go against it. We've got a crossover here. So my vortex crossed over, and at the same time, we see a massive increase in the momentum strength here, and we see that the RSI finally went bullish from this whole first time it went bullish since we started dropping this way. So what I'm doing is I'm just going along with it. So bullish momentum increasing, vortex showing me the trend is changing, but at the same time, my momentum is increasing quite a bit, and I'm just going along for the ride. At no point am I trying to predict what the price is going to do. I am simply following what the market is, what price is doing. So I'm just looking at what it's doing, and I'm just going along with it. And it's really as simple as that. It's not a secret strategy. It's a very, very simple strategy. The only thing you require is patience, and you need to understand that if we're going with the trend, because we're using the Vortex indicator to determine areas where we can enter the market. The Vortex is a trend indicator, and when we're using trend indicators, it's very important to understand that we are going with the trend. We do not use, if we're using a trend indicator, we will always go with the trend and not against it. Okay, so there are plenty of reversal strategies out there. I use some myself. If you're if you frequently watch these videos, you will know that I absolutely love divergence. And divergence, we get 4 different kinds. 2 of those are reversal signals. 2 are continuation signals. So yes, we do use reversal strategies, but we do not use reversal strategies when we use any trend indicator like the Vortex. Vortex is a trend indicator, so we're not going to be looking for reversals ever from the Vortex. We will only look for continuation. And if we need to improve our chances to win a continuation entry, we need to have the momentum of that move behind us. We need to know that there's a lot of momentum, because the more the momentum, the less likely it is for price to suddenly change direction. It's going to need some distance to stop first, or before it can turn. Okay. I hope this makes sense. I hope everybody understands this. If not, please feel free to ask for clarification on anything. I'm happy to explain. Also then, again, the guys that, those of you with PO Broker, remember if you need to, if you're with PO Broker, I've got a promo code for you guys. It's Vortex80 for an 80% deposit bonus on from as little as $10. So if you do need to make use of, if you do need to make a deposit, might as well make use of that. Here's a crossover. This is actually great. It almost crossed. It's a pity it didn't actually cross here. But this is a very nice example of when we're not going to be taking trades. We had the small crossover there, but my RSI remained bullish. And again, we're flirting at the moment with these lines are flirting with each other, but we're not getting bearish momentum. My RSI is staying bullish. So when this happens, here's another thing you might consider. Quite often when I see it start to do this, most of the time when it starts to zigzag like this, when the vortex starts to zigzag, you will be kept out of the trade because your momentum is conserved, right? So it's keeps going bearish, bullish, but my bullish momentum is conserved. So what I also quite often do is, once I see that it's zigzagging, I simply sit back, wait it out, and then wait for the next clear entry to present itself. Because right now it's, as you can see, it's zigzagging quite a bit, but we were kept out of a trade because we never went. We were in a bullish move, and when it started zigzagging, we never the momentum never went bearish. It dipped for a second, but by the time it dipped, there was no cross yet, and by the time it did cross, we still had bullish momentum. So this is a brilliant way to stay out of bad trades. If you just keep an eye on your momentum, you're not going to take bad trades, but it will also save you from areas where it's zigzagging like this. Areas like this, if you pay attention to the momentum, most of the time you will be kept out of a trade. So because it's a trend indicator, when it's ranging, when the price goes flat like this, and this will happen from time to time, when price goes flat like this, just stay out of it. If you get a warning, If you kept out of a vortex trade and it then starts zigzagging, just forget about it. Don't force a trade. Don't jump in. And a lot of people have FOMO and they don't want to miss out on trades. But it's much better. It's always much better to stay out of a trade than to take a low probability trade or a trade that's outside of your trading parameters or your strategy parameters, and then end up losing money. Right. So when I started trading, which was quite a long time ago. I've been trading for about 25 years now. But in the early days, a guy told me once, not trading is part of trading. And it took me a while to understand what he meant. But sometimes it's best to just take your hand off the mouse and the keyboard, just sit back and wait for the market to normalize. If you're not finding entries, or you find that you are struggling to read the chart at a specific time, your strategy is not making sense, sit back, relax, and wait for the market to normalize. Or alternatively, get up for an hour, go do something else, come back. Okay. So yeah, we were kept out of this, out of this trade, which is very fortunate. We don't want to risk. We don't want to take unnecessary risks. I always tell people, you have 2 jobs as a trader. You have only 2 jobs. Your first job is to preserve your capital. Because if your capital is gone, you can't trade. Your second job is to grow your capital. So it's more important. Your number 1 priority is protecting your capital. And only after that comes growth. You cannot grow what you do not have. So make sure you protect it. Don't take unnecessary risks. Most of the time it will end badly. Most of the time. By far most of the time. Not like 60-40. 90% of the time it will end badly if you start taking unnecessary risks and you start breaking strategies. Okay, so that's the Vortex strategy. Um, like I said, this is one of the strategies I do use in my daily trading. It's very reliable, and there's very few times when that the market actually basically stands still. Where we have extended periods where it's ranging tightly like this. It does happen, but it doesn't happen often. Usually the market will price will be flowing as it was here or was here, and because the vortex is a trend indicator, this is where it shines. This is where it really plays nice. Vortex does not play nice in areas of tight range. So yes, this is why we need the momentum side of the strategy as well, so we can know when we're in a range or when we are actually trending. And if we're trending and if we establish we're trending, we just go along for the ride. We don't try to go against it. We never use any trend indicator for reversals. Okay, beautiful example of a trade we're definitely not going to take. I Vortex is very close to crossing, going bearish here. Very, very close. Okay, so it didn't. But if it did cross over now, I would not take a sell because I have all around bullish momentum. Right, so if it did cross now, I would not take a sell because even though the vortex is showing me we might go bearish, we still have too much, we still have bullish momentum, and quite often it might be a delayed reaction, but it might drop a few candles later. But if we do not have the momentum in the direction we want to trade, you will quite often find that price will just go a little bit above your entry, and by the time you hit the expiry, shortly after that, price will then go in the trade in the direction that you wanted it to go. Why? Because it still had momentum in the opposite direction. Okay. So, please test this first. As always, people, if you see a strategy online, whether you read it or you see it in a video, doesn't matter where you see it or doesn't matter where you read it, test it first. Please do not slap this on a chart and start taking trades left and right. Make sure you understand this. You have to practice you have to practice your timing of your entries. You have to practice keeping an eye on the vortex and momentum. Please practice any strategy if it's new to you, practice it first. That's what demo accounts are for. There's nothing wrong with trading on demo if you're testing something. If you just apply the same rules you would if you were trading real, that's what demo accounts are for. You can make mistakes, and while you're learning, you will make mistakes while you're learning. And do that on a demo account. So if you want to practice a specific strategy that's new to you and you're not familiar with it, please, I beg you, just practice it first before you apply it before you risk your actual money. This is good practice for any trader. I do not trust any strategy that I've seen that if a lot of people give me strategies to test. People will send me strategies and ask me, they found this, what do I think, and stuff like that. And I always test it on demo. Always. I never test something on real, so please don't do it. Protect your capital. Don't lose money because you want to use something that you don't quite understand. We've got Vortex Vortex really wants to cross over, but it is reserving the momentum is reserved, and every time it gets close to crossing, we just it opens up again. And my momentum has been my bullish momentum has been conserved since the start of this area here, where we went into this bullish move here. Right. So these are the moves that we like, because if there's a decent chance when the vortex crosses over bearish now that at the same time my RSI and stuff, my RSI and my momentum will cross over bearish as well. Okay, so we were on Euro USD. We were trading on Euro USD 10 seconds. I think we spent about 25 or 30 minutes specifically on the Euro USD 10 second chart. We got 2 trades from it. Both those trades were successful. So it is a slow-ish strategy, but it's not that slow, especially if you use it on 10 seconds and 1 minute. It's not that slow, but please, if you do want to use it, remember you're going to have to be patient. Sometimes we go into bigger runs, bearish or bullish runs, and just remember that for any strategy, you need the patience, wait for good trades, wait for good setups. Once it's confirmed, just go with it. Okay, so I'll see all of you guys next week. Hope you have a lovely day. We'll have a look next week and see what Bitcoin has done. I don't really want to make guesses on what it's going to do. It's really difficult at this moment, or this point in time. It's actually really difficult to do any kind of analysis on Bitcoin on the 4-hour or the daily charts, because we are in an area that's basically uncharted. So it's really difficult to do technical analysis on it. So short-term traders, good luck if you're trading Bitcoin. But it is going to be a tad more interesting to navigate from a technical analysis point of view. But I think overall, for the next few months and stuff, we should see a bit more green. Okay, so guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. As always, trade smart and trade safe. And I'll see all of you next week. For now, cheers.